Awesome. Okay. All right, we are recording this meeting just to help with doing the minutes afterwards. So thank you everyone for joining us. This is the 2022 meeting of our household hazardous waste group. I am trying to run this screen, so if you can't see anything, let me know. So we have people joining us both virtually and here in person. So I just wanted to start by everybody introducing themselves and going around. So I guess we'll start with the people physically in the room. So if you could just say your name and what town you are from. So
Mark Stevens, Public Works, Middlebury.
Stephen Perry.
Stephen Perry, environmental planner.
CJ May, City of Waterbury.
Roy Thompson, City of Waterbury.
Sean Stramello, Town of Seymour.
Frank Gabinelli, Town of Seymour Public Works.
And I'm Christine, regional planner here at NVCOG. And let me invite people online to introduce themselves. Aaron Budris.
Aaron Budris, senior regional planner at NVCOG.
Excellent. Danielle from Watertown. Are you with us? Or? Okay, well, there's her name, Danielle, and her town, Watertown. So there we go. Mayor Bob.
Hello, I'm here.
Hello, welcome. And then it looks like Catherine has not connected to audio yet. I'm not sure who Catherine is because I don't.
We have a quorum.
Oh, we don't need a quorum. This is not a formal meeting.
Okay, all right, very good.
Yep. Okay, so if I missed anyone, I think that's everyone who's online.
For the record, tell where these pretty pictures have been taken. The
Yes.
opening shot. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that last one was Prospect. We have some really nice footage. Oh, here we go, Catherine. Again. We have some really nice footage throughout this from the 3 events we did this year. The drone images and videos are courtesy of Aaron Budris, and the stills are me trying to frantically take pictures on my phone while we're running the event. So hope you enjoy the pictures. So next we'll do our review of 2022. We'd like to do a roundtable and just hear what your thoughts were if you either attended the events or received a surprising bill, or you thought things went well or didn't go well. Just go around and share our thoughts. So with that, I guess let's start with Mark and do our same roundtable here.
I thought the event went well for 2022. We didn't have any problems. I think Christine did a great job facilitating everything for everybody. And I think the company that we had in, they did a phenomenal job. No
Awesome.
complaints.
Yeah, and by the way, I should probably mention Stephen Perry. He is a new environmental planner with NVCOG. We haven't exactly decided the fate of how this household hazardous waste program is going to be managed, but he may be someone, he's certainly getting trained on how to manage it, and he may be someone who plays a larger role going forward. CJ, thoughts?
Because I'm in public works, I haven't been directly dealing with it myself, but I do get a lot of calls. A lot of people in Waterbury love this service. They're very excited about it. They appreciate it. But I have to admit, as a resident of Haven, I heard a complaint down there about their program, even though it's every week during the summer months, that I haven't heard in Waterbury, but I can imagine we experience that in some of our communities. People who, for religious reasons, will not take part in a program like this on Saturdays would love to have some option for making a drop-off possible the day before. And at Hazardous Waste Central in New Haven, they have done some semi-officially ways of doing that. Somebody could come to them on Friday and drop it off. But that's not so easy when you don't have a full-time facility and you don't want to have people just showing up at the location and you find mystery boxes and bins of materials. But just if there were some way to allow for people to drop off, and this would be generally Jewish folks who are very observant, will not drive a car, they won't handle materials on Saturday. And I think Seventh-day Adventists may also have a prohibition against getting out and handling materials like this. I don't know whether other towns have experienced this, but it's just something to consider. should we have people ask for this in the future?
Yeah, that's a great point. And obviously we always try to be inclusive in all our programs and even not for religious reasons, if somebody works a full shift every single Saturday, we still want them to have this program accessible to them. So that's something we could definitely make a note of and talk about. I appreciate the feedback. Roy.
We didn't have any issues this year, which is good. Our landfill is open on Saturday, so a lot of questions can be answered by those guys up there and they do a great job. So we didn't really have any issues. this year.
Okay, excellent.
We have not experienced nothing but good things about it.
Okay,
No complaints, no bad feedback. So I mean, I think it's going well.
fabulous. I do want to acknowledge we had just a couple more people join us, and I'm sorry if I was a little delayed on letting you guys in. So I think Catherine is now here. Catherine, did you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, yes, I'm the new regional senior planner as of May with the Northwest Hills Council of Governments. So just basically trying to learn the ropes here and as far as best practices. And again, I know as far as the familiarity that we have with the hazardous waste removal, I know that we host 2 events within our region. So, but I'm just here for listening and see if we can have some takeaways and as we move forward. So thank you.
Oh yeah, our pleasure. We always love partnering with our sister COGs. Steve Mance, did you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. Steve Mance, Director of Public Works in Bethlehem. Good to see everybody this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw Mary Marone come in. Did you want to introduce yourself, Mary? Maybe she's just observing. Anyway, Mary.
Hi, Mary Marone, Town of Wolcott.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Mary. And oh, wow, we have a lot of people trickling in. Okie dokie. Jerry Lukowski, did you want to introduce yourself? Jerry, are you there? Might be having a mic issue. And then I saw Robert Phillips. Would you like to introduce yourself? Or Robert Phillips, I believe, is also with Northwest. Oh, there he is. Okay, sorry.
Hello?
Hi, welcome.
Okay, you can see me. Sorry, it takes me a minute to set the controls here. Rob Phillips, Executive Director of NHCOG. I think Casey's also on from NHCOG as well.
Yes.
Okay, fabulous.
We're just here to observe. We'll be going through an RFP soon for our next contract. So figure it'd be useful to see what you guys are up to.
Fabulous. Thank you. Did I miss anyone else who joined us? Okay. All right. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Bob to continue giving his feedback.
Forgot me.
I just said I'm turning it over to Mayor Bob to give his feedback.
Oh, okay. We really didn't have a problem. This is with various organizations, probably the 20th time that we have done this. I was a little apprehensive because when we gave out COVID test kits, it was a mess. This was not a mess. It was perfect. We used the school, sent everybody around behind the school. It went off without a hitch. And it was a great day besides. So thank you.
Great, wonderful. Danielle from Watertown, did you want to give any feedback? She may still just be observing, trying to detect. Steve Mance, did you want to give feedback?
I think that the collection at the elementary school went very well with it being a smaller site. There was definitely less traffic at ours versus the other towns just because we're so far out there. But I thought everything went very smooth and everything was coordinated well, and there was a nice traffic flow all day.
Perfect, thank you so much. And Jerry, any feedback? Okay, Jerry may just be observing us today. Jerry also switched careers from Southbury to Watertown, sort of in the middle of all these programs. So you may have been a little bit not as in tune this year. Okay, so I guess, was that everyone had a chance to speak? Roundtable? Okay, sounds like it went pretty well. So next up is the program participation. So we serviced a total of 1,400 vehicle loads throughout the year. As you can see, we had about the same participation in April and July. We had a bit more in our September collection in Prospect. We generally actually see the opposite of this, but it was sort of a funky year because Bethlehem and Prospect are both relatively small towns in the program. Also, our April collection happened to be scheduled on a day that was right around Easter, and so we may have, had some out of town folks and such that made that collection a little smaller. But it's always tough in April. We're sometimes at the mercy of the vendor of when they're available. But overall, these are not bad numbers. They are a bit less than last year or last couple of years, and I think part of the reason of that is a lot of people during COVID were doing construction and removing. And as a result, we had a big spike in numbers. We had tons of people who wanted to get rid of their old paint and such. And this is just maybe coming back down to more regular levels. But I think we did, as evidenced sort of by this discussion, I think we all did a great job. So just wanted to also, pat yourselves on the back for this. Look at the impact that we have had of 5,000 linear feet of light bulbs that we've diverted from the landfills, over 4,000 gallons of pesticides, 1,200 gallons of flammable liquids. This is stuff that's not ending up in our landfills. So thank you so much to everyone who made this possible. Next, I wanted to go over a couple of very little changes. I wanted to talk about our COVID protocols, which we put in place a couple of years ago. They're on the screen here, and they're all the typical things of you have to wear a mask and, one family member per vehicle sort of thing. We have technically kept this on our messaging this year, but have not really enforced it. We're not turning people away for not showing up in a mask. However, I just wanted to sort of formally put it to a vote here. Can we end these protocols for future collections with the understanding that if there's a spike or anything like that, we sort of have the messaging now. We have signs in our storage closet that we can pull out again. Wondering if anyone feels comfortable proposing the following motion to end the protocols. Or if we can have discussion first, if you don't feel comfortable with it, or feel free to hop in if you're online.
This is Mary Marone from the town of Wolcott. I'm okay with that. Suspending the required mask. If someone's not comfortable, or they, I think that people should be able to think for themselves. So if you're not comfortable, wear a mask. If you're comfortable, don't wear a mask. I think we should leave it up to the individual. I think we've kind of gotten past,
Perfect.
if you get past this pandemic mindset.
That sounds great. Thank you, Mary. Can we have a second for that? Second. Thank you, Frank. And Frank, right? Frank. Yep. Okay. I just want to make sure I got that right. Steven's taking minutes, so I want to make sure I call people by name. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Have a little discussion.
Wait, did you have further discussion? I'm so sorry. Please,
Yeah,
Mayor
so we gotta talk about it. I would favor that, but if there's a problem, have a desk there with some, we all have extra masks. We got them during the handout during COVID. Have it on the table there. If they want them, they can take them. If they don't want them, they don't have to.
That's a great point. Yeah, we always bring the personal protective equipment. Actually, even before the pandemic, we had personal protective equipment, gloves and masks just because of the nature of the event. So I will absolutely continue to keep bringing that box full of PPE. Any other discussion? Okay. Again, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much. The second thing that I'm looking to sort of get your feedback on is that right now, on our sheet, when a car comes in, the top of the sheet, we look at their driver's license and circle what town they're from. At the bottom of the sheet, they are supposed to put their name, their street address, and sign. We have not used this for the last 2 years because of COVID and not wanting to pass pens back and forth. So my understanding, or I guess not understanding, but my opinion is that the event runs very smoothly right now. In the 2 years we haven't been using it, I haven't had anyone call and say, wait a minute, who stopped by and dropped off this XYZ? This also is not tied to what they drop off. So I don't entirely know the like purpose this serves. That signature is not sort of legally binding in any way. I just think it's probably a waste of paper for us, and we could instead use that space to put directions for, you know, the newbies out there who are learning it, to just make things run a little smoother. If we're getting rid of the COVID protocols, do we want to go back to having every person sign their name and write their address, or are we okay with removing this, with staff recommendation being to remove it? I guess we'll do the motion, the second, and then open for discussion. Would someone move that?
I think personally, because I'm the one I've been working in the front of the line,
Yep.
a lot of these events.
Mhm.
And just checking their IDs, their
Mhm.
driver's license.
Mhm.
Suffices, so.
Yeah.
Plus, you're gonna slow down the process of getting cars through. It moves smoothly now, so.
Mhm.
If nobody has a problem with it, I think you should just check their ID and not have to have them sign their name or address. I think their
Perfect.
license takes care of the issue. If
Yeah.
there was gonna be anything.
Great.
How do you determine what town they're from?
So they do show their driver's license, and at
Okay,
the
well,
top of that, sorry?
That has to be written down, correct? So for the proper billing?
Yep,
You're just gonna
so,
do away with the signing.
that's exactly right. So we're still gonna circle, you know, Prospect or Wolcott or what have you.
Okay.
Any other thoughts online or in
So
person?
what is the process now? I haven't done it in years.
Sure, sure.
So what is the process now during COVID? They show their license, the person that's facing the vehicle just circles the town.
Yes.
So there's no more signing, there's no more of that anymore, right?
Yes, so,
Yeah, I think that's great, because now there's less paperwork going back and forth. And
absolutely.
if people are still uncomfortable with COVID, they're not handing the pen of the back and forth.
Right, so when they come up to us at the front, there's a sheet on the windshield. We just take their sheet, check their ID. And they don't have to roll their window down, they'll just show us their ID, because a lot of people will crash their windows enough so you can talk to them.
Yeah.
They'll show their ID, circle of town, put it back on the window. Okay, they come up to the front. I pull it off their window. Okay. Proceed. So ask them what they have, check what they have. So we're not interacting that much, and they.
Okay, so if we could have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you, Frank, perfect. We'll do second.
I second.
Okay, second from Roy.
All right.
And with that, any further discussion or? Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, next, I just wanted to give a brief update about the RFP. So as some of you may know, our contract with our current vendor, MXI, has come to a close. This was the last event that they did for us. So we had to put out another RFP. And I wanted to give a thank you to our wonderful selection committee, including Mr. Roy Thompson, who's in the room himself, Anne Marie Dragonis, and Steve Mance, who is joining us virtually today. They were really, really helpful in this process. We created a request for proposals. We had 3 companies submit their responses. We evaluated them, and we did make a selection. However, nothing is finalized yet. We still need to reach out to the prospective chosen party and begin negotiating with them. If negotiations fall through, we would have to go back to another one of our other 2 choices. But I can say that the process went really, really smoothly. I think we'll be, I can't imagine anything's going to go terribly wrong with the negotiation process. And I am hoping that I will be sending an email to you all beginning of next year to let you know who our new vendor is. And again, big thank you to the selection committee for making it happen. Okay, so meat and potatoes of our meeting is the locations and dates. So for the upcoming year, I have proposed some dates. However, due to the nature of not knowing who our vendor is, I can't secure any of these. So this is what I'm proposing. So as soon as we get the contract with them, I can give them this list of dates and say, you know, are you able to lock these in for us? I was hoping we could do a little preliminary vote and say, yes, we like the dates. I made sure it's not near Easter this time. Sorry, what's up, CJ?
No, maybe I'm trying to get my calendar here. I 4/21/23 is a Friday.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, I must have. I'm so happy you caught that.
I was just gonna put it in on my calendar right away.
Perfect.
And but if you're talking actually about 4/22, that happens to be Earth Day.
It is Earth Day. Wait, that's so cute. Okay, yes,
So
I like
that's-
that. I think that also means that July is wrong as well. So, Robert, was that your feedback as well?
No, I just had a general question. You can
Oh,
just finish.
please. No, I'm gonna go adjust these dates right now, and by all means, let us know what your question is.
All right, my question is, have you moved those dates around in the past? Is there a logic behind those dates? Has you had any feedback on dates? You know, those types of questions.
Oh, so I have only been involved for the past 2 years, but I will just tell you from my experience that we like doing April, July, and September. As for the actual weekend, last time we sort of had a not so great situation where it was the Saturday before Easter Sunday, and that was very bad. So we needed to watch out for that. But otherwise, for anyone who's been involved a little longer, do you have any other feedback for Robert on that?
You pick the date, they will come.
Yeah, and the reason why I ask is, I guess, at least this past contract for the last 4 events, we have 2 per year. Last 4 events at NHCOG, they've been on, I think it's the first weekend in June, maybe, I think it is, which is right after Memorial Day weekend. And then there was always on Columbus Day weekend. And, you know, the thought process, I'm not sure what the thought process it was for NHCOG, but, you know, Columbus Day weekend, yeah, 3-day weekend for most people. But, you know, at the same time, they may be actually cleaning out their garage on that weekend, you know what I mean? So maybe it makes more sense to be the weekend after that. So I was just asking a general question, see if there was any kind of thought that went into this, or if it just worked out, you know, for you guys just 3 times a year, not including winter, obviously.
Yeah, and you're also, of course, you're never gonna make anyone happy. We get so many calls the day after the September thing is over. You know, I missed it, and oh, I gotta wait another 6 months, and can't I drop it off somewhere? And it's not ideal.
We get them to.
Yeah, it's a little rough, but I think the 3 times a year, and I think these months, they seem to work out really well for people. Okay, so thank you so much for catching that, and I apologize that I was off by a day 3 different times. So does everyone feel comfortable with these dates, or does anyone know of any parade or holiday or something going on? And if we feel good about them, would anyone be interested in making this motion?
Just a quick observation, again, just for fun. It seems like the April one's right after Earth Day, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Now that I've corrected it, it is on Earth Day, which is very exciting. Yeah, fabulous. All right, anybody want to make that motion?
Prospect will.
Thank you so much. A second?
Wolkett. Second.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mary. And any further discussion about the dates? Again, understanding that they're pending the approval of our vendor. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Perfect. Carries unanimously. Thank
And
you.
you'll email out once everything's all set. in stone?
Absolutely, yes. Everyone will be notified once we get that finalized with the vendor.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, our pleasure. Okay, so if you recall last year, we decided that we were going to start planning 2 years in advance to help towns understand, because the budgetary process doesn't align always with or I should say the calendar years and the fiscal years are different. So planning 2 years ahead helps towns to understand, oh, am I going to have this higher cost associated with hosting? So in 2021, we approved these locations, Middlebury, Oxford, and Thompson. And I'm proposing the following sort of months to go with them of April, July, and September. We try to get our smallest town in September, because that's when we generally have the lowest turnout, although last year was a bit of an anomaly. So this was already approved. This is just an FYI about towns. And again, the dates won't be finalized, but I'll pass those along.
All right.
Okay, for 2024, to continue planning a couple years ahead, here's what we are proposing. These are the towns whose sort of cycle has come up again. Again, with Woodbury being the smallest, I'm proposing to put them in September. I am wondering if anyone has any thoughts on this or major objections before we move to a vote. Yeah, it's pretty boilerplate. It's, it's just the cycle. All right, so proposed motion is up here. If anyone wants to be brave and
I'll make a motion to accept the dates for the 2024 year as is.
perfect. Thank you, Mary. Second?
Second it.
Thank you, Frank. And any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, and so now we come to that list of acceptable materials. So I wanted to add a couple of clarifications to the list. This is not something to vote on, it's just an FYI. I feel like we got a lot of people this year asking about roofing cement and asphalt, which are sort of weird thing. Like asphalt, I think of as a commercial thing, but people, I guess, patch cracks in their driveway with it and such. It is accepted. It's the same price as like the non-flammable solids or whatever, one of our other big categories. So these are things we accept, and we do accept 1 pound gas cylinders, the little camping size. So I just wanted to put those on the list because hopefully it'll cut down on the number of calls. Things that we do not accept but aren't on the unaccepted list, that we have something called compressed gas cylinders, but I wanted to be clear that that's the 25 pound gas cylinders, or really anything above the 1 pound. Fire extinguishers, we also get a lot of calls about, and we do not accept those. So just FYI, I'll be updating the list to reflect these things we already do or don't accept. And I also, this is a question I wanted to put to you guys. By far, the most asked for item that we do not accept currently is motor oil. They say that they have an issue finding a place to drop it off, although I do understand, and I have been told that, AutoZone and places have programs for this. I happen to get a lot of calls about it. I was wondering if we are open to accepting it. And if not, I truly don't know the rationale of why it wasn't on the list. Our past vendor, MXI, always seems puzzled by the fact that we don't accept it. So I was hoping if anyone has wisdom from the past on why we didn't accept it, I'd just love to have some discussion on this.
Waterbury, we take it at our landfill. We take it 5 gallons, up to 5 gallons, but here's the issue. We have to have it tested before the company comes and removes it.
Okay.
So maybe that is a reason why we haven't accepted.
Didn't something happen in Ansonia where it cost like $100,000? The truck got contaminated?
Oh, I don't think it was during one of these events, but you mean just in the
Yeah, I know, I'm pretty sure Ansonia doesn't even take motor oil anymore because of that. We're the same boat. We take it, but we have to
We
test
take it,
it.
yeah, we pour it, we have to look, and then we have it tested. And then
He won't take it. Our guy won't take it unless it's tested.
Interesting. So
Yeah, it's a big liability. If a little bit of contaminated motor oil gets into a giant tank big as this table, then all of a sudden it's a huge dollar
Right,
issue.
right.
So, but I think if you ask the vendor, they may have experience in saying, oh yeah, we do that all the time and this is how we do it. And we do it safely because they grab the batch from that day and they test that. I don't know. Ask the vendor.
Yeah, well, so I did ask, what I asked them was, I assumed the reason we didn't accept it was because it was more expensive, probably associated with if there's extra testing to do. He said that it's the same cost as getting rid of gasoline, which we already accept. So to me, it seems like, especially if it's so problematic at the transfer stations, at the landfills, it seems like a really good idea to accept it, but
I would say add it because we do get requests and I do let them know that Waterbury takes it, but I imagine other people do it and some people don't want to come up there, they want to go there.
yeah, or as Frank said, if Ansonia doesn't accept it at all, then we want to give an option for
Pretty
those.
sure Middlebury accepts, we have, we accept motor oil at our transfer station, so most of our residents bring it to the transfer station, but
Yeah.
if it's something you want to add, then.
I'm pretty sure the past director in Ansonia told me that they no longer, ever since that happened, they don't accept it anymore. So,
Well, this could be, if you're concerned about future liability at some of your towns, then maybe you don't have to accept it at your transfer station anymore if we have this program.
Well, I think what we would have to ask the vendor is, what's the procedure if it's contaminated? Because a lot of times it is contaminated. So
Okay,
what is the cost to us, or do they just take care of it? I think that's the question of contamination, and then the amount. Because motor oil, a lot of people have a lot of motor oil, so we have to believe we should have an amount for the motor oil.
Mm,
and how do you determine which
I
town
know.
it came from if it's contaminated?
that's a very good question. Okay, so I think maybe then the most prudent thing to do would be to ask some questions to the vendor about contamination and figure out, does that affect the cost? Does that affect the procedure for how it's handled? And if we even need to change the messaging in our advertising, like, 50 pounds maximum for everything except motor oil, which has a different maximum.
Right.
And then one sort of last thing related to this, I also got a few calls about mixed motor oil and gasoline, which is not accepted anywhere. And I would strongly encourage us to take that just because there's no other option for it. What are
Yes.
they going to do with it then? So,
As long as they identify it as such, then they put that in a different drum,
Right,
and
right.
that's great because I get strange calls from people with weird stuff.
Yeah.
And would love to have us be able to take some of those because otherwise I say there's no place. And what are
Right.
they gonna do? They're gonna pour it down the drain, dump it in the woods or put it into our garbage bins if we don't give them a place. So
Yeah. Okay, so Roy, thanks for bringing up that great point. I can certainly, I can ask MXI, even though they're technically still with us till February, so I can ask them and use that as a yardstick going forward.
I
please.
want to go back if I can
Yeah,
to
of course.
two of the explosive risks. One is fire extinguishers, and I get a number of calls. I probably get one call a month. From
Mm,
somebody saying, what do I do with a fire extinguisher?
Mm.
And I went through and I called up and there are about 3 vendors in Connecticut who sell or lease or charge fire extinguishers. Some will take them for free, some of them won't, but I can imagine a lot of people don't want to bother going to some town half an hour away to drop off the fire extinguisher. They're gonna dump it into our garbage can again. So we don't like that. So I would love to find out from the new vendor, what would the cost be associated with taking fire extinguishers?
Okay, great.
Just because it is a frequent request that we get. Another light on the end of the tunnel, though, is Connecticut did pass legislation regarding compressed gas cylinders, propane tanks.
Mhm.
And that's gonna be coming into effect this coming year. I can't remember. But that may mean some pressure off of us because by that law, the propane manufacturers will have to take back their propane tanks.
Mhm.
And I think that will include both the small 1-pounders as well as the big ones. And that doesn't mean we should collect them here, but I'm hoping that this will have a 12-month option for people
Sure.
and not just having to wait for the 3 collection days here. But it's just something we should keep in mind as we try to plan for that, because we really don't want compressed gas cylinders in the recycling or in the trash. They're explosive risk.
Absolutely. And CJ, just, I don't know if you are aware of this, but I've been told for fire extinguishers that many fire departments have programs to recycle them and to,
Ours doesn't.
okay,
Yeah,
No
I
problem.
and so they tell them to call us, and when I first got here at whatever, I told them to call the fire, and everybody goes back and
it's,
forth.
yeah,
And so I decided to research, I have like a little sheet listing of a few places in Connecticut that will take up fire extinguishers.
Awesome,
Everybody
okay.
wants, I'll send it to you, but it's, just calling them up and asking them, and they say, we'll charge you, or one place will take it for free, but again, people may not want to travel.
sure. That's a great point, and I'm sure Stephen has noted that for our minutes, and we'll be sure to follow up on that afterwards and get back to you. And in that same vein, is there anything else that you see here that shouldn't be here or that you want to take off? It's the second sheet on your.
Well, I think one of the things is maybe a secondary sheet, and I realize that you're providing for governments, but I get a lot of calls from small businesses that have a quantity of material that is obviously above what is accepted for a household, and they, well, what do I do? What do I do? And I said, well, you have to make arrangements on myself, and you can hear them like rending their clothing because they don't want to do it, but having I don't know, a separate sheet on the back was, if you are a business and have these materials, contact this vendor or whatever it is, because they may have more of this material than is going to be accepted. They can't even sneak it in, because it's not appropriate for them to do so. Maybe a tagline, a little blip on the website that just says, if you're a business and you have these materials, here are some options for you. That may
Yeah.
be something for the chamber to do, but a lot of people will be looking at you as a way of getting rid of their sketchy stuff from, their small contractor job.
Yeah, we can make a note of that and look into other resources that we can list for the businesses. I know in the past we've been kind of maybe like had a bright line between we provide the service for residents and residents only and sort of not, but obviously this is not taking things from businesses. And I think it's tough if businesses don't realize that it should be a line item for them. They're just looking to sort of offload it elsewhere. And especially, it's just frustrating, especially when, some of these places that are like, they're like greenhouses, and like, how do you not know that pesticides are going to be it's got to be part of your budget to get rid of them just as much as it's part to buy them. So yeah, I've gotten some frustrating calls and people asking us to make exceptions, but yeah, CJ, it's not a bad idea. We'll have Stephen make a note and we'll again follow up and look into that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other thoughts on the list? It's been serving us well for years, I think. And okay, so I guess we're not, we don't really have a sort of a motion for any of this. We've just decided that clarifying the list is fine. Motor oil, we're going to sort of table this for now and get more feedback from the vendor. And then for the fire extinguishers, we'll look into what that would be like to accept them. Okay, with that, a couple of very quick things for other business. I just wanted to note that our wonderful communications manager, Desiree Blanchard, she is always looking for new ways, and it's nice that we have a communications manager now because we didn't have that always. She's looking for new ways to get the word out about this program. So this year we actually advertised through WATR, which is kind of like an exciting new way. We've been just print in the past. We're still advertising through our normal, Republican American and Voices like we always do. But she also tried a couple new newspapers. So just FYI that we'll be trying different ways to get the word out. And the last thing was an excellent suggestion by CJ to include Recycle CT flyers as something that we hand out during the event. So CJ, did you want to talk about this a little?
Just briefly, and again, I'm speaking from ignorance because I have not been to one of these before, and it's really important to keep this operation efficient. But my hope was that the person who receives the guest coming up with a carload, checks their driver's license, just simply gives them, would you like some information on recycling? And Connecticut has codified its recycling list. So basically, most towns have exactly the same list. Used to be each town had a different list and it drove everyone crazy. But it would be really helpful to, I think, to offer that. And some people say, oh, yeah, thank you. And you give them the list, and that way they have basic list of what they can and can't recycle. And I think this will help all of our towns because we're all fighting the same battle to get the real information out there and replace the misinformation. And one of the misinformations is plastic bags, for instance. A lot of people recycle plastic bags. They're the single biggest problem for recycling processes and making it economically viable. And they can't even result in a charge against the municipality. If there's too much contamination, styrofoam, plastic bags, hoses, toys, it can actually hurt your bottom line. So the more information that we can give back to these people, the better. Now, the people who are showing up already are showing that they care. They're coming out, they're taking time on a busy Saturday to come and drop off this stuff. So they probably care. So they're probably not bad recyclers, but they may be misinformed. And we find that there are a lot of really good people who want to recycle right, but they're still doing the wrong thing just because they don't know. So if we could confine it to say, okay, we're going to have 500 people today having 500 sheets with the basic information of recycling on it, they can take that, bring that home, and that may just help a couple other people start doing the right thing and putting the right material in the right bin. It doesn't have to be exactly that. The state already has that stuff printed. We could just print that off.
That's a great point.
And
Super
it's
convenient. Yeah.
super easy, and they have it in English and in Spanish. Spanish is a big concern for us in Waterbury, so I would suggest having one side be English, the other side being Spanish, and that's it.
Great.
But it's, operationally, the people who run the event, they really have to decide whether this is something that's convenient for you.
Yeah, and I was talking to DJ about this. I love this idea. My only misgiving is that there's just, the NVCOG staffer who does this has to load up their car with like all the signs and the boxes, and then to have another sheet to be handing out in addition to the clipboards and the tracking. I'm always looking for ways to simplify this, not make it more complicated. However, it's such a good opportunity, and it's such a good, I'll throw the extra, take some extra time to print the flyers and throw them in there because it's a good opportunity. So this is not sort of a formal vote, but I'm seeing a lot of nodding and smiling. So I'm thinking it's a good thing to do for next year. Did anyone want to give some feedback on this idea? All right, I think we all probably feel pretty good about it. So
You try.
yes, we'll give it a try and see how it goes. All right, with that, thank you
I'll
everybody
check
for
with her.
coming. I hope this was
I want to go back to the advertising part.
advertising, absolutely.
All right. Residents of Prospect, Naugatuck, and Beacon Falls get a free Citizens News every Thursday. So you might want to consider that, because not everybody gets the Republic of America, but everybody gets the Citizens News for free in Naugatuck, Prospect, and Beacon. So it's printed by the Waterbury Republican American, but you might consider that newspaper. It's kind of like Voices and some of the other smaller ones, but it's sent out.
Yeah,
free.
thank you.
There is no
Actually,
more
that was
Prospect pages and all the business. So.
okay.
you consider that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was actually one of the new newspapers that Desiree printed in this for this past event. So yeah, she did the Citizens. But Prospect pages I hadn't heard of before. You can make a note of that.
No, they're out of business.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misheard that. But yeah, Citizens News we did last time, and thanks for that feedback. We can continue advertising there if that you think gets a good group. Any other thoughts on communications or any other part of the meeting?
Has Desiree looked into Bamba or Spanish radio or Spanish other opportunities? Getting the word out?
I know that for advertising, no, I don't think so, but that's a great question and a great point. I know that she has, we have translated all our flyers into Spanish. So hopefully when everybody got the flyers this year, you got two of them, you got the English and Spanish. But we can certainly make a note and then let her know. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Great big thank you. And I guess if you want to make a motion to adjourn. We're all friends here. We can just, so there we go. I'm sure no one is not in favor. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Take care.